In this video, we're going to be going over the shielded half guard, and I'll explain what that is to double leg. So in half guard, to me, is one of my favorite guards to actually play in. I'm trying to develop a more open guard, but right now I feel very comfortable in my half guard. And I like to break it down into 3 half guards, and I'm going to be speaking about one of them. So in this half guard, I'm going to be over here with my back off the ground. Now the only reason I'm able to have my back off the ground is because I have access to my frames. If I have my frame over here, my knee would be my main frame, right? He can't get any closer to me than that, right? Unless he uses muscle. And then my hands can be framing over here if maybe he starts reaching for my head or something. I'm just getting in the way over here, right? So a lot of times the opponent's putting a lot of pressure, and this shield can only take so much. If he puts a lot of muscle and I start reacting with muscle, my knee bends, maybe he flattens me out and he starts looking for different kinds of positions. But I kind of train myself not to push back. So if he goes and he starts to push, I'm going to be trading the shield frame for my underhook. So I'm actually going to get rid of it. And if he's pushing, notice how he has to catch himself here on his base, because otherwise he's going to fall on his face, right? So if he's putting a lot of pressure, I'm just going to trade it over here. And I'm going to turn this into an underhook. Now, when I underhook, a lot of people kind of have shallow underhooks and kind of like they just have the arm under, but it's not really serving a purpose pretty much. So whenever I have an underhook, my main connection that I'm thinking about is my shoulder and his armpit. So sometimes I even point with my finger over here because sometimes I get too distracted by grabbing here and squeezing. But the idea is that he cannot get away from this hook that I have under him, his armpit, right? If I go ahead and make it a low underhook here, he can sit back without really bringing me with him. But if I keep my shoulder stuck to his armpit here, if he tries to sit back, he has to take all that weight with him, right? And I'm not gonna fight him to it either. I'm just gonna invite it. Because if I try to fight it here and he goes away, he starts to create space. But if he tries to create that space and then he sits back on his base, I'm gonna have him pick me up so that I can establish one of my base hands over here. And once I establish this structure, now if he tries to push me, he's pushing towards the structure, so it's hard to lay me down again. Another thing that I feel that people mess up in when they do this technique is when they come up. So if he sits back on his base, they put their hand a little in the wrong spot. So if I have my hand over here, especially right next to his, if he pushes me, I'm still falling down. There's no really, not really a structure there supporting. So when he goes and he picks me up over here, I'm putting my base behind me over here. So that's what he's going to be pushing at if he's going to try to flatten me out again. So from here, I start pushing because I want him to fall over. If he doesn't move his hand or he doesn't at all react with that hand, he's going to fall over. And a lot of times I actually get this, not meaning to, but the person just falls down. But if I go ahead and I start making that movement and he resists, the slightest resistance of him pushing back is going to be enough for me to come up on my base strategically. Now I'm going to need that push because if he's sitting on his base over here, his triangle, he's heavy on both knees. So if I go ahead and I try to come up like this, I'm not going to be able to get through this leg. It's going to be too strong. Nor do I want to come up forward because he's probably pushing me to go back down. So I'm trying not to play the muscle game here. So if I start to go this way and he resists, the second he resists, he's pushing back on the structure, he's going to loosen up the weight on this leg. So I go ahead, I push, he pushes back, and my leg will go right through, right? Once I'm in this position, I kind of have the advantage here because I have an underhook and he's sideways to me. So I like to grab his foot behind his hip and then I like to grab his knee over here. And even when I'm performing this double leg, some people they push and they're just so excited to get the double leg. But that base hand is a problem for me. If I go ahead and I push towards that base hand, he's going to be impossible. Even if I were to knock him over here and he has that base hand and I continue to push him towards it, that's going to help him come right back up on his base. He's going to come right back up. I'm not going to be able to control that. So from here, as I start to push towards him, if I feel that he's resisting, go ahead, resist. Then I'm going to be bringing these knees together, and then I'm going to pay attention to where he doesn't have a base, which is behind him. So I'm not going to push towards that hand. I'm actually going to use my head to push him back off his base. And now from here, I can start passing the guard. But I never want to pass a guard if he's up on a base on an elbow. I'm trying to knock him off his base before I go for it. So one more time. I'm going to be here in my half guard. My shield is up here. I'm not going to have my shield down here. Although I'm not gonna say never to have it here, it's for different reasons, right? But I'm gonna have it up here so that if I feel any pressure of him trying to lean forward, I'm gonna make him catch his base, and I'm gonna replace it with the underhook. Some details that I skipped quickly, but I wanted to cover now, is that every time I have an underhook, my underhook is accompanied by a frame, right? It can be on his bicep. A lot of people talk about MMA here. I think either frame is powerful, but as long as he cannot get close to me, he won't be able to flatten me out. If I do not have a frame over here and he started pushing towards me, I'm gonna go flat, and now my underhook is gonna be useless. But if I have my underhook accompanied with a frame, now if he tries flattening me out, he won't be able to. He won't be able to get through this frame. Another detail that I like here is that my knee, this free knee over here, is behind him and bumping him forward. So he can either fall forward flat completely, which probably will not be the case, or he can resist it. And it's usually the resistance that's picking me up. So if he resists and he sits back on his base, then he's picking me up on mine. And now I continue pushing him, and then if I feel that he probably won't fall off his base, if I feel that he doesn't let me push him and he starts pushing back, I come up on my base, and now from here, I pull those knees, and then I take him to where he doesn't have a base. And from here I can start to pass. Cool?